Hey folks, welcome back to Canada's Boxing Channel. I hope everyone's doing well. As you probably know, I don't often watch the big boxing YouTube channels like IFL and Boxing King Media and whatnot. Partly I don't have time and partly, well, mostly I'm really not very interested. But I do like to watch Dan Rafael being interviewed, and IFL seemed to have a bit of a lock on him. And earlier on tonight, when I was out doing my chores and whatnot, I was listening to it. So I wasn't actually sitting watching him, I was just listening to it. And it was actually a good interview. He's absolutely trounced this past weekend's boxing, with the exception of Inoue. He said everything that we have said on this channel about how bad the Lopez Barboza, the Haney fight, the Garcia fight, how bad they were. He's actually used a lot stronger language than we used on here as well. He was asked how this little spat apparently that's occurred on X. I don't have X, so I don't go on there. But apparently Dan Rafael and Bill Haney, Devin Haney's father, have had a little, tete-a-tete on X. And Dan Rafael, obviously calling it like he sees it, said Bill Haney can go and F himself. And he didn't just say F, he said the whole thing. He said he's known Bill Haney for a long, long time, and Bill Haney seems to, like him when he's saying positive things. And when he broke the story about Ryan Garcia failing a drug test, Bill Haney had lauded him. And now he's saying that, Devin Haney's fight absolutely sucked. Bill Haney is saying he doesn't, you don't know anything about boxing. And Dan Rafael said, just go F yourself. Just really, said, look, I've been in the business for 25 years. I've forgotten more than most of these chumps have ever known. He also talked about Ryan Garcia fight. He just went on about how terrible it was. Absolutely terrible. And he said he felt sorry for Turki Alalshikh, which we've said here, right? When I've done my videos, we've had a little bit of back and forth. Yeah, he's put up millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars actually. Promotional stuff and purses. It's just not got value for money. Dan Rafael also talked about how the Times Square event was kind of screwed up. This strikes me as poor logistics, or poor planning, because it was supposed to be open so that people could see. Well, the city required that the chain link fence be all covered up, so that was those red barriers. And then it was also supposed to be broadcast on the big jumbotrons. And apparently there's a city ordinance about safe driving that prohibited that from taking place. Now, I'm thinking that that's a staff failing, because the organizers, they should have been able to go through that and make sure that it was going to be okay. So that's a staff failing, and I suspect that, again, Turkey, ultimately, who's writing the checks for everybody, probably not best pleased. Dan Rafael also told us that he was a WWE fan. Hey, a little bit of a snippet we didn't know, right? No, to be precise, he said that the WWE wrestlers are great entertainers, they're great athletes. The thing is, of course, it's scripted. And I've always said that. I mean, they're great, one-take actors. There's, I used to watch it back, 30-something years ago. And even though it's scripted, there's not, the outcome is in no doubt. They know who's going to win, right? Hulk Hogan, the big leg drop and whatever. They are actually good athletes and good entertainers, which is why they can fill out stadiums. But yeah, who knew Dan Rafael was a WWE fan, or WWF as it was when I was watching it. Anyhow, I digress. He went on to talk about the Canelo fight. And oh my goodness, did he ever slate William Skull, like, he should never, if he's ever on his card again, that would be a disincentive to watch the card. You should never be heard from him again. He had no business fighting that fight. He had no, oh my goodness. He had no business being in that position. He didn't come to fight, he ran. And he was talking about the punch output. How Canelo basically threw like 12 punches around, and that this has been deleterious to Canelo's future. It's sort of diminished the value of the Crawford-Canelo fight. Really highly critical. No glossing over this at all. I was quite surprised in a way, because I thought that, you know, people of Dan Rafael's position, to be honest, I thought that they might try to not exactly sugarcoat it, but to put the best spin on it that they could. But no, he didn't. You know, he's got no F's to give. He's fresh out of them. And I'm pleased that it's not just small little YouTube channels like me that's out there saying, my God, this was terrible, right? That, you know, we've now heard from Dan Rafael, we've heard from Oscar De La Hoya, we've heard from some of the bigger channels that have got a voice that reaches out to people. So this is one of those instances where the establishment, if you like, is not trying to gaslight us into believing that, oh yeah, well, they were actually good fights. They really weren't. So, you know, big clap for Dan Rafael for saying it like it is, and for somewhat amusingly telling Bill Haney, who is one of those, to my mind, thoroughly dislikable fellows, where to get off. Dan Rafael also spoke at length about the state of American boxing, you know, and in particular, he's talked about something that I've talked about as well, that really there is no bona fide heavyweight contender in the US, right? I mean, obviously I grew up at a time when American heavyweights were dominant, but now there really isn't anybody. But you know, he did say that these things are cyclical. You know, things will go around and come around and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it was a good interview. One of those rare times where I found something that was put out by IFL. I'm not picking on IFL, but one of those rare times when I watched something on one of those big channels that I thought, oh yeah, this is actually worth my while watching. So there we go, Dan Rafael, telling it like it is. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you on the next video. Thank you.